Good evening. I call the Broken Arrow Special City Council meeting to order. Roll call.
Pickle.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilor Ford. I said that backwards.
Yes. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay. All right. General Council business. Item 4A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of PUD 1787-2024 and the rezoning of the Gatesway Multi-Family project. Rocky Hinkle.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Rocky Hinkle, Community Development Director. PUD 1787-2024 and BAZ 1788-2024 is a request to change the zoning on approximately 35.5 acres. The property is partially platted as part of the Gatesway Foundation campus. The parcel is currently developed and is proposed to add multi-family development component to the site with a maximum of 108 dwelling units. There is an existing PUD 176 that was approved by City Council on July 2nd, 2007. The applicant is interested in developing this property for a proposed multi-family workforce development. During the meeting held on November 21st, 2024, the Planning Commission recommended approval 4-0 of PUD 1787-2024 and BAZ 1788-2024 per staff recommendations. During the public hearing, 3 residents spoke in opposition to this application. Concerns include traffic on College Street, low-income apartments, and the applicant stated that a traffic study had been completed. I want to share with you some of the differences in the existing PUD versus the proposed PUD. The existing PUD had 243 maximum dwelling units. The current PUD has a maximum of 180 dwelling units. The existing PUD had 35-foot minimum frontage with no landscape edge, and the proposed PUD has a 60-foot minimum landscape buffer along East College Street and 30-foot minimum landscape edge along the east property line. In the existing PUD, the tree requirement was 1 tree per 50 foot of landscape edge. Under the proposed PUD, it's 1 tree per 35 feet of landscape edge along College Street. In the existing PUD for parking, it was 2 spaces per unit. The proposed is 1.7 spaces per unit. In the existing PUD, the building length had a maximum of 160 feet, and the proposed PUD has a maximum building length of 300 feet. At the City Council meeting held on December 3rd, 2024, several residents spoke in opposition and requested that a neighborhood meeting be held prior to a vote by council, and that's why we're here tonight. So with that, I'd bring up the applicant if he has any remarks, and then we can turn it over for a public hearing.
Okay.
So the comp plan has already been changed. We changed it to level 3, correct?
The applicant?
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is John Fury. I serve as president of the board of trustees for the Gatesway Foundation. I've stood before this body before and told the story of why I'm involved in Gatesway and the impact it's had on my family and this community for over 60 years. However, we're here this evening to thankfully and appreciatively address the concerns of both you all and the neighbors. Gatesway, as you know, in the fall did conduct a neighborhood meeting and invited surrounding neighbors to see our plans and conceptuals. Those same concerns were brought up at the Planning Commission meeting, wherein the comp plan was changed, and then this body changed the comp plan as well in November. I appreciate, I had emailed each of you with kind of some historical document. Newly appointed Councilor Pickle, I apologize, your email bounced back, but so we feel that as opposed to kind of rehashing a lot of the same things, we wanted to just reconfirm to the council and to the city staff, who by the way have been amazing walking us through this process, that we fully understand the concerns of a neighborhood. We also would like to remind the council that frankly the use that we're asking for was already allowed. We just would like more of it. And That being said, we have worked with your folks. Traffic is not a concern according to the study and the Public Works Department. Sanitary sewer capacity is not a concern according to the Public Works Department. So Broken Arrow Public Schools overcrowding is not a concern according to the conversations that we've had and that some people on the staff have had with Broken Arrow Public Schools. They were somewhat surprised that we even had the conversation with them on those things. That being said, we've had an amazing partnership with this community and established this neighborhood over 60 years ago. We want to continue to do so. Our friends and the services that we provide are truly the most important thing that we can provide. We also, like every community across the state, and as I've told you, I happen to be a city manager of a neighboring community to the north, also have a substantial workforce housing issue. We now have a unique opportunity to house more of our friends, provide services, as well as staff members and people in the community that need housing. Gatesway will own 51% of this development in partnership with Beacon. The scrutiny, the background checks, the type of folks that will be allowed to live there because of the liabilities that we're exposed to, and frankly, we're in one of the most regulated industries there is, I promise you will be second to none. As a matter of fact, we've done some research about surrounding areas within a mile and 2 miles of registered sex offenders, and I assure you they won't live anywhere near our campus or on our campus, and there are some there. This is not out of compliance with your land use plan, and there is multi-family housing in the area as is. Granted, it's not this big. I will also tell you all that my background in public service, I spent some time at the Tulsa County Assessor's Office, and I worked on land valuation. And while it's honestly always brought up, there's never been a recorded history where anything like this has caused a deduction in land value. Real property in the state of Oklahoma does not go backwards. Stalled out a little in 08, 09 when we had the recession, but land does not lose value. Property appraisals do not drop in the state of Oklahoma. We're somewhat insulated from the happenings of the East Coast and West Coast. At the end of the day, this is a fantastic opportunity for Gatesway to have a sustainable source of revenue to continue to provide services to the most vulnerable in our communities. We're branching out all over Oklahoma. We want to help provide services to organizations like Gatesway across Oklahoma. We want to be a beacon for those folks. We want to say, here's how you do things the right way by being a good partner with your cities and a good partner with your neighbors. My concern is this is a very overregulated and underfunded industry. We are so reliant on private dollars, grants, and we have an opportunity that we've gone out and found these partnerships, and we vetted this partner in Beacon. We wouldn't be doing business with just anybody. Getting to know them and the people that have put this deal together with us, they have a true heart for our community, and they have a true heart for workforce. So we would just, again, we're available for any questions. I feel like we're very thankful that you all have given us yet another opportunity to have this conversation. But if you look through the collateral, if you talk to staff, I think you'll see that we've addressed every concern. I know these are tough conversations. I deal with them all the time. At the end of the day, most folks want single-family housing around their neighborhoods. That's what it comes down to. Whether it's a 180-unit apartment complex or we move forward with 145 units that's allowed as is now without coming back to this body, there's going to be folks that aren't pleased with that. We understand that. But we still have an obligation to provide services and housing to folks. And so we request and respectfully request that you consider approving our application. Thank you.
So,
yes.
question,
Yeah.
just,
Sorry.
not really a question.
Sorry, Counselor.
Make sure I remember this right. We changed the comp plan from a level 6, which is industrial, to a level 3.
That is correct, Counselor. This singular parcel through the comp plan was 2 different uses, 6 and 3. We simply came and said we'd like for the entire parcel to be one of those. Okay. So this use was already allowed on that parcel.
Okay, on that part of the parcel. And the other part would probably be an industrial area, is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions? I apologize.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we've got a few here. Let's see, we're going to start with Brad Blanks. And Mr. Blanks is speaking in favor.
Hello, I'm Bradley Armstrong Blanks. I've been with Gatesway over this past April. Last year I'll be 36 years of Gatesway. Believe it or not, I love Gatesway. They helped me through so much. I live in this beautiful house they built last year.
It's
And
beautiful, yeah.
we moved in February, and it's the most amazing house I ever lived in, and I love it. And I would not go anywhere else without Gatesway support and their love and their kindness that they have given me for over 36 years. Knowing I got a great Gatesway, but also I have a great boss that I really adore and admire. And I love Gatesway because they help me get a house to live in, get a job, and support me.
Yeah.
And I've seen so much going with Gatesway, especially with this project they're building on the campus. Like I said, I've been with Gatesway for 36 years. And this coming April will be 37, so
Wow.
I really love it. I really love it. And I love everything that I do for them. So, is there any questions?
I think he lives in your neighborhood, right? Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gatesway house. It is beautiful. That
What,
house
what do
is
you do
beautiful.
for Gatesway?
I work for a shredding company, as you can tell. It's on my shirt.
Okay.
And my boss up there is right up there. And she's the most amazing boss I ever had. Knowing I like her, but I love her as a best friend.
There you go. A good deal.
She's very supportive. She's always there, always got my back when things kind of got really tough. So
Yeah.
And you do live in a great neighborhood.
It's his neighborhood.
I do
That
live in
is
a
my
great
neighborhood.
neighborhood. It's a really beautiful neighborhood. I mean,
agree.
we got really a nice house. I mean, it's brand new.
Yeah.
It looked like more than a house. It looked like a hotel, honestly, but it's a beautiful house, and I love it.
All right, good.
Thank
Is
you.
there
Thank
anything
you.
else?
That's it.
did
Thank
great.
you, sir. You did great.
Thank you, guys.
Claire Caldwell.
Good evening, council members. My name is Claire. I want to talk about how having affordable and inclusive housing, especially close to places that understand our needs, like the Gatesway Foundation, is so incredibly important for people like me. As someone who is representing the neurodiverse community, I can tell you that having a safe, stable home isn't just about needing a roof over my head, but it's also about having a space where I can feel secure, calm, and supported. With the competitive nature of the housing market, finding affordable, independent housing is even more of a challenge for someone that's neurodiverse. The Gatesway Foundation provides important services like job training and life skills development, but many of us don't qualify for Gatesway services due to a higher IQ. If we don't have a place to live that's affordable, safe, and close to these services, it's like running a race with no obstacles in the way. Being able to live near work or training opportunities makes it so much more easier to focus on what matters most, such as developing skills, holding down a job, and just feeling like we belong. We don't have to worry as much about the stress of trying to find affordable housing or dealing with environments or situations that are overwhelming or not designed for us. So it's not just about having a place to stay, it's about having the right kind of space that helps us thrive. I hope you'll consider how important this is for neurodiverse individuals and why it's crucial that we have more housing options that allow us to live independently, securely, and within dignity. Thank you again for your time and understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Madison and Bolden and Baden.
Good evening, council members. My name is Madison, and I want to talk to you about something that affects me personally as someone who's neurodiverse. The pay gap that many of us face and how it makes it so much harder to live independently and comfortably. As you might already know, people with autism and other neurodiverse conditions often face challenges in the workplace. It's not just about communication or social skills. It also affects something that seems pretty basic, but is super important: fair pay. Unfortunately, the numbers don't lie. People like me, who are neurodiverse, tend to earn less than our neurotypical peers. In fact, studies show that those on the autism spectrum can make up to 30% less than the neurotypical people doing the same job. When you're already learning less, it gets really hard to keep up with the rising cost of living, especially rent. It's a struggle to make ends meet, and without a steady paycheck, it's nearly impossible to find stable housing. That's why affordable housing is so important for people like me. Without affordable options, it becomes way harder to take advantage of opportunities, whether that's a job, a training program, or just living life without constant stress. I do appreciate your time, and I hope you'll join me in supporting solutions that can make things fair for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Good job.
Molly Mills.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. I come to you on two different fronts. One is an advocate for the neurodiverse community. As you've heard, the importance that our members would like to have contributing to their community and the importance it is to try to do that with dignity and independently becomes a struggle daily when the workforce is just lowering its ability for pay and cost of living continues to rise. Many of my friends in the neurodiverse community have the ability, the intellect, and the capabilities to hold a job. They just are not always offered one at a fair wage. Therefore, trying to live on their own, even with great supportive parents, makes it very difficult when there's not an affordable option. My second front, I come to you on the whole other spectrum. I was a single mother, and I have a master's degree. I was an administrator in public education, and now I'm an executive director for a foundation. So I have worked hard, very hard for my education, and yet I continue as a single income household to find affordable housing for myself. At 43, here I am thinking I'm successful. I've raised my son, he got married, my job is done. However, every year that rent goes up, I consider, do I have to run back home to my parents? Thankful they were supportive when I was raising my child. But as a 43-year-old woman with a successful career and a master's degree and a single income, I continue to struggle to find housing that, one, I want to live in, two, that I can afford to live in. So I ask that you, again, come in favor in thinking of this, not only for our neurodiverse community and those that I serve and love, but also for the working force that continues to struggle to make ends meet as cost of living continues to rise. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Molly LaRive? Sorry.
I'm short, so give me just a second.
So am I. I understand.
So I'm Molly LaRive. I want to talk to you today about the apartments and things that they were wanting to build. I've looked out and looked for apartments and things for myself. I cannot afford anything that in a right area that I can grow mentally, physically, spiritually. They're wanting to help me, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm nervous.
Okay.
Take your time.
I lived on the campus of Gatesway for about 6 years, waiting for an opening for the community. And now that I'm out here and I'm ready to move forwards in the program that they offer. And I looked out and I tried to move out and get my own place, and I couldn't. With the program that they have, there is no areas that are safe whether they have, the ones I looked in, they had bed bugs, they were bad places, they were bad people. I feel like what they're doing here is going to open that to this community for individuals that are in facilities or they're not in facilities, or single mothers, people that need that help and that support, that they don't have families, because I don't have family. I have no backbone, and that's what Gatesway have been for me for about 7 years. And I feel like if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be here. I'd be homeless. I'd be taking care of my brother still. And I feel like that's something that we should be open to, growing with Gatesway. Gatesway should be something that should be able to grow. And that's all I have today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sarah Fry. And thank you for putting your the pronunciation on there for me.
Oh, yes. My name is spelled Frey, and so everybody says Frey.
Yeah.
But I tell my new friends that now they know me, they got a little piece of Friday. Every day, they can usually remember it. We've lived in Broken Arrow for decades, and I live in a neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood that's one over from campus, from Gatesway, and I was connected with Gatesway since 2016. I do nonprofit executive work and fundraising by trade, so I've volunteered with them. I've stayed connected with their fundraising department. I've mentored. I've been connected with them, and I will be forever. Gatesway will be in my heart and in my life. And when I first started hearing the messaging about the apartment complexes, which I lived in Los Angeles for 15 years, so 180 units seemed quite small to me, even bigger than what's around there. But anyway, that's different story. But I tend to be a little bit of a sleuth, and so as a volunteer at Gatesway, I was aware of a time when Beacon was on campus. Beacon are the builders, and so I went and I looked in their eyes and I asked them some really tough questions about safety, because I think safety is a universal language. I think everybody in this room would say we want safe places for our families, our kids, the people we love. And I asked them questions about safety in the neighborhood. I asked them questions about safety on the Gatesway campus. I asked them questions about safety within the apartment complex, because I lived in apartment complexes for 12 years. Some of them were not safe, especially in the bigger cities. And I received answers that I was really, really pleased with, and I'm a skeptic by nature, and I'm not an easy sell. And I also tend to ask people about their mothers without them knowing about it. And so some of these people at Beacon, I asked them. We talked about their moms, and I liked that. I'm a volunteer. Here we go. Broken Arrow needs housing. I hear it. I missed the BA breakdown today, Mr. Spurgeon, because I was in here, but with Skylar. But BA does need housing, and I do live in a single-family neighborhood. And anyway, we need housing, and I am convinced that the people that will live in this housing are good people, and I'm actually going to be part of. Have already decided, I haven't told Beacon or Gatesway this, but I've already decided that I'm going to be part of making sure that happens. I also haven't said that I'm a mom. My son Emerson would have been here, except he has to go to an autism tech night tonight. He's 19, he just graduated from BA High by the skin of our teeth, and he's working part-time at Bass Pro. He's going to need an apartment, and his IQ is too high for Gatesway. But if I send him out in the community, before I pass on, which, that we all worry about this. If I send him out in the community, then he will be immediately taken advantage of. Yeah. If he's on the Gatesway campus and we've got some safety net, it's going to be a different story. Thank you. I'm one mom, so is Helen Gates. Helen Gates' youngest son is still living. He's an amazing man. He has confidence in Gatesway leadership without question, and that's why I do. Thank you very much for giving.
Thank you, Ms. Frey. Alicia Hinkle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. As we've said before, we appreciate what Gatesway does. We have no opposition to Gatesway. They've been great neighbors and believe in their mission. Our concern, I'm coming to speak on the other side as a homeowner in that neighborhood, how this will impact us. I am concerned about the fact that, this rezoning happened before we had an opportunity to talk. It kind of just flew right through. And in studying some of the Broken Arrow Comprehensive Plan and the ordinances, if you look at the houses on College Street, most of those are zoned R1 or agricultural 1, which is what we are in. And most of the homes there are between 3/4 and 5 acres. And so we're not in a subdivision, and we're not adjacent to an arterial street. And according to the ordinances, my understanding is that multifamily has to be adjacent to an arterial street. So this is not in line with the ordinances or the comprehensive plan.
Which ordinance are you referring to?
Pardon me?
Which ordinance are you referring to?
Well, there's the land use intensity system, which outlines it there. I also have the residential multifamily definition that says a residential multifamily is intended to accommodate the development of multifamily units, including apartments and condominiums in neighborhoods with medium to high residential densities, which is not where we are. Also, the ordinance states that the council is to preserve the character and the quality of the residential neighborhoods and to conserve the value of buildings and land, and we feel that this is going to impact the value of our property. Also, according to the ordinances, you are supposed to protect the scale and character of existing residential neighborhoods and community character. You're to discourage any use that would generate traffic or create congestion on neighborhood streets other than the normal traffic that serves the residents of the district, and discourage any use that, because of its character or size, would create additional requirements and costs for public services. So they say this shouldn't cause an additional burden. I don't know how this would not impact having 180 additional units there. So I hope that you will consider that, because it does impact us greatly. I don't know if you've driven through there, but it's a very quiet neighborhood. Our previous neighbor talked about living in LA where 180 doesn't seem like much. We chose to live there because it's not congested, and it's not what we bought into when we bought our house. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Howitt?
Ladies, gentlemen, my name is Rebecca Chastain Howarth. I have lived within 4 to 5 blocks of this property that we're here to discuss for my nearly 69 years on earth. I grew up on Lynn Lane. I have seen Broken Arrow grow from approximately 5,000 to around 115,000 now that it is. My graduating class of 73 was the last one to graduate on Kirkland Field. It was kind of sad to see that go, but I understand progress. The Broken Arrow Expressway had not been built yet, and we had to take Lynn Lane to 11th Street to get into Tulsa, which is a long-distance call at that time. Of course, it was a party line, and everybody knew everybody. Watching Broken Arrow grow has been quite bittersweet for me. I miss the old-time feel, but I absolutely adore driving down Main Street this time of year. The Rose District is beautiful, the lights, the ice rink, the old buildings, the new old-styled homes. I don't particularly like that yuppie feeling I get sometimes, but I'm willing to compromise. By allowing low-income homes, it encourages, in my opinion, panhandlers, taggers, and little tent cities like the one that was located near Aldi's at one time, or maybe still is. Please don't bring this mentality to our community. The development will come with greater traffic. I think that's a common sense idea. Lynn Lane doesn't need any more stop and go lights. It's already compacted with too much traffic and too many lights now. This section of College has no curbs, no sidewalks. The proposed development would require a widening of the street, that it can be done, and that can't be done without tearing down homes or claiming eminent domain. That concerns me because living on College Street, I see the school buses go by all the time, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. But you know, when they come by, there's no curbs, and it's hard. It gets kind of scary sometimes. So that there would need to definitely be something to the street. The house I currently live in on College Street, we started building in 1992. It is my retirement home. It is located 2 blocks from this proposed development. Please protect my community and my memories. You have the power to take what we have and make it better. Keep Broken Arrow upscale and desirable to live here. I realize progress and change must take place. The question is, what kind of progress? What kind of change? When voting, I ask you to consider words like beautification, dignity, and respect.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Amy Thomas.
Hello again. I actually have a question with those who spoke earlier, talking about the apartments that they can afford. Have they presented with the rent for the apartments? Will they be able to afford that? A $900-something apartment, a one-bedroom apartment? Are they going to be forced to share a one-bedroom apartment? That's my question. I don't expect an answer right this moment, but I just wonder if those who have spoken have said that. I have done research on Beacon out of Kentucky and SOCAR, or SOCAYR, whatever their property management company is. This is just 3 pages of complaints about their property management. The very things that these people are afraid of about Beacon: bed bug infestations, right at the top of the list, mold growing in the walls. They don't honor their leases. They raise their rent. They come get their rent and continue to raise their rent. Employee relations with Beacon, they don't support their employees. The management is dishonest. They lie to protect themselves, and they use and abuse you as an employee. No, ma'am.
Sorry.
It is from all over the
Sorry.
place.
Just, can you just address the council,
You can
please?
type
Sorry.
in Beacon all you want. There's pages upon pages of reviews from actual people. If you want names of them, you know, Terry Bowman, John Burden, Curtis Burke, Kevin McCarty, terrible experience with the management. They couldn't handle the responsibilities. Negligent in addressing major safety issues in rental properties under their care. No one in their tenant relations office is responsive to serious complaints. There's countless complaints made to the property, countless police records, ongoing feuds of violence between tenants involving destruction of property, verbal and physical abuse. This is only 3 pages, because that's all I had time for in between my job to print off. So is Beacon going to be the one that is doing the majority of the management under their 49%? Or is Gatesway going to step up to the plate and handle this? We love Gatesway. We love what their platform is. We love that they want to help their friends. But I don't think this is the answer still. I don't. Thank you.
So can I ask,
Thank you.
what do you think the answer is?
My husband is actually going to speak on what he thinks the answer is. There's a gentleman up in the corner that I spoke to at the meeting that they are building cottages. We agree with that. Cottages would be great. And not a full apartment complex where anyone and everyone is allowed to come in. Yes, they're going to be good on screening. I would hope so, because I can guarantee some of the people on this page were also screened very well. So I don't think, so with the precedence of all of the agricultural land that's sitting there, which some of it is industrial, if these apartments go in at the end of County Line and College Street, is apartments going to be allowed to go in there? Is some of the industrial land, are apartments going to be allowed to go there on a main road? That's my question. And do these people who have spoke, can they afford the rent? I would like that answer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ben Thomas.
Good evening, council members. First of all, I want to say thank you to the friends that presented tonight. It takes a lot of courage for them to put together. They're grateful for where they live. They're grateful for the Gatesway program. And I'll tell you what, I am too. I really am. These programs are hard to run. They're hard to fund. And I've spoken with some of the leaders there, and it's a struggle because the category that they put them under, it needs to have its own category of how they're funded. And that's really the problem here. This is all about funding. This is all about how Gatesway can continue to move forward and be funded. But I think that the way they're doing it by bringing in another company and bringing in management from another company is going to take away too much from what they can control. Part of my concern is a 180-unit apartment complex does not fill up in the first 30 days. It doesn't fill up in the first year. It usually takes a year and a half to 2 years to get to 90% capacity, especially when the rent is not comparable to the majority of the rent currently in Broken Arrow. A one-bedroom apartment over $900 a month is not affordable for somebody that works at Gatesway unless they make $3,600 a month in gross. The formula is 25% of your gross income. That is the standard formula for in the mortgage industry. Not 50%, because you got to take out taxes and then have utilities. Today you're hearing from various people, including just like myself, about our strong concern about a large 180-unit apartment complex in a single-family neighborhood. I'm not going to try to restate the other opinions that have already been sent. I just wanted some dialogue and some strategy and an opportunity to be a help to Gatesway. I personally am a real estate investor. I flip homes. I build homes, and I would have liked to have had an opportunity as a local resident to say, can I help you? Can I bring in a group of investors? Can we solve a problem here that you guys are having? It's my firm belief that that the way it's currently set up, an 18-unit per acre zoning that would allow them to do this is just too much. It doesn't fit the neighborhood and should be reduced to 4 units per acre. Why do I say 4 units per acre? Because they're building fourplexes. They have fourplexes. This is the model they've started. They should stay with that model. If they stayed in that current building, in the current buildings and the new buildings that they're doing of being fourplex units, I believe is a better fit because it continues to stay with their plan. I believe the neighbors would be more supportive to see Gatesway grow and just continue in the same way they're growing now. I don't believe their clients drive, so the road usage wouldn't be a big issue, except for the additional staff, of course, to hire and do the expansion. Also, if they were fourplex units and they still needed to bring in a builder or a managing partner like Beacon or myself, eventually Gatesway could buy out their partners one fourplex at a time as they had the money. Thank you for considering the neighbors, our neighbors, and how it will impact our community. I would have just preferred to have an opportunity to be part of this process and to make it work better for them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deborah Stark.
Hello. Thank you for having us all here. I don't really have any prepared remarks, but I am opposed to this. My husband and I moved out to Broken Arrow because we found what we'd always dreamed of, which was a nice house, ranch-style house, in a very quiet neighborhood with land. We have an acre and a quarter. In fact, we liked it so much that we moved next door. So we stayed on Freeport. We live on Freeport Street. My husband has since passed, and I stay there because it's a quiet neighborhood, it's a safe neighborhood, and I do applaud what Gateway is doing. And like the gentleman before me said, I think a smaller scale would be better. But if you put in 180 units, that College Street is not an appropriate street for that. There is, like they said, the buses. Well, I live right behind the buses, where the buses park. They come and go all day long, even in the summertime sometimes. So it's a very busy area with just the bus traffic. And they're good neighbors. I'm not against the bus plan at all. They're all good people. And the Gateway people are doing a very good and needed service for the community. I just would not like to see a 180-unit apartment complex as my new neighbors. The other thing is, it's so safe and so quiet. I have neighbors that leave their doors open. They leave their garage door open all day and night. They don't worry about somebody coming by and taking something because nobody comes down our street. You bring in all that kind of outside traffic, we're going to have kids and teenagers and mischief that we're not used to. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Steve Swagger?
Well, you guys are having a long night. Anyway, good evening and Happy New Year's to you and your families.
Yes,
We're
you
hitting the
too.
ground running, aren't we?
Yes.
Sometimes that's what it takes. Well, again, thank you for setting up this special meeting tonight. My purpose and desire is to share with you that 56 of us who opposed a proposed 250-unit multi-complex near College Street and County Line Road back in November of 2023 continue to oppose any multifamily complex along College Street eastward toward County Line Road, which would include the current proposed 180-unit multifamily complex. But we are not the only citizens that are concerned about apartment building complexes. Just today, I heard on the radio our neighbors in Tulsa, and I'll just read a couple lines. People who live near 101st and Riverside in South Tulsa are worried about what a possible zoning change will mean for their neighborhood. Residents have told District 8 Councilor Phil Lakin they're worried about the zoning change that would possibly open the door for a new apartment complex, which many have said they don't want. So this isn't anything new that we're dealing with, and like someone said before, these are hard conversations, but I think it's good to get both sides. I've appreciated both sides so far tonight. The other speakers have addressed the concerns and reason that we are opposed to such buildings. And again, I just want to reiterate a very important one is if this proposal is approved, are we going to see other apartment building complexes built along College Street towards the eastward towards County Line Road? We would, however, like to see and would support our neighborhood along College Street expanded as single-family homes, duplicating current lot sizes and thereby preserving open spaces we already enjoy, and also make it possible for other citizens to realize part of the American dream, owning their own home and property. Thank you for your service to the fellow citizens of Broken Arrow.
Thank you, sir. And then we had Dwayne Howarth, but he does not want to speak. He's just in opposition. He turned in a card. He said he didn't want to speak. Can he still
It's
speak
up
if
to
he
you,
wants
Mayor.
to?
You have
Okay,
the
yes,
power.
you may. Might as well.
He filled out the form.
You fill out the form.
Thank you for letting me speak.
You bet.
I really didn't want to say anything, but just sitting there listening to everybody, I kind of wanted to give my opinion. And I live on College Street, 1104 East College, not far from Gatesway. And I get to, and we've lived there for 35 years, something like that. So I've seen a lot from what, I have people walking down my side of the road to the Gatesway people to try to get there. And we've even had people walking through our pastures down on the other side. I mean, you bring 180 more people in there, that's more people that are going to be invading we live on 5 acres, another 5 acres next to us. The other lady's sitting up there next to my wife, they live 2 houses down. And so, I don't mind what they're doing at Gatesway. I really don't. I think they're doing a good thing. I tolerate them. I have people walking down my driveway, I'll just look up. But through the years, we have had police running down people that have had some problems. And, I just don't see putting a 180 unit in there. You're just going to compound those problems. Other than there's ditches on both sides on most of College Street. I'm afraid now that they've got county line done down there and opened College back up, it's like a throughway. I will not, I have to turn and look to my left to make sure nobody's coming down the road before I get the mail out of my mailbox. I'm afraid somebody's going to hit me. And they go down through there 45 miles an hour or faster. So, I just, like I said, I'm not really opposed to what they're doing. I just see some complications coming with 180 more units. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does the applicant want to address any of the concerns that were mentioned?
I'm Travis Yates with Beacon, and I'm happy to address any concerns as far as our reputation, things of that nature. Yes, we have people that complain on us, but we do the best we can, and I would stand by us, our staff, all day long. That doesn't mean a whole lot, but I will say this to the point about vetting Beacon and things of that nature. We've been talking with Gatesway now for 11 months. It's been since February. We've gone back and forth, weekly calls, and text messages, and full conversations about this. And they are an impressive partner. We didn't pick Broken Arrow by a dart. They are a group that is amazing from their board on down to their staff, and extremely professional and capable. Not just mission driven, but these are business folks. And they have owned this land for 40 years. Now, I've done this in other places, and there's real arguments, and believe it or not, it's the same arguments everywhere I go. But I've done this in other places. They've owned this land for 40 years. And everything that I have been told about highest and best use is that it is all about, that's what zoning is all about, is highest and best use. And then it gets cloudy as to what is the highest and best use. But I don't know how you look at a group like Gatesway and say, well, I know this is what you think it is, but we think that you're wrong when you've owned it for 40 years. That's just a different argument that I've had anywhere else. I mean, usually I have to prove what I think. Affordable housing is great, workforce housing is great. This is something that we will bring to the community. We're going to use quality materials. We're going to try to do the best we can to be good neighbors, and all that's real. But I've never had a partner that's owned it for 40 years that is this professional, that has said, this is how we have vetted this. This is the best thing we can think. If I remember right, they had this for sale for a while. It didn't sell. So if somebody wanted to partner with them and wanted to do something at that time, they should have done it then. This isn't new. This isn't dropped on anybody's lap. This is something they called me and said, we've got to come up with an income stream. We've got to come up with something for our folks to be able to go to that can integrate into the community. And then we've worked on this for a year with an application that's due Thursday, so it's pretty well vetted at this point. I had a friend who passed away. His name was Norman Nicholas, and he always told me, don't fall in love with your argument, which I agree with. But at the same time, I'm having a hard time getting around that this group has decided this is what they want to do with their land. And there's others that say, well, we just don't think that's as good of an idea.
Thank you, Counselor, and thanks again to our neighbors and our friends. Just to reiterate, there were some specific things brought up about ordinances, land use, and what they've done in their research. I think, as you all know, that can get complicated. You have ordinances, you have comp plans, you have land use master plans. They tie back to different parts of the ordinance. I think you all have a staff that have already vetted that. I highly doubt that anything's been presented to you all that's in violation of any ordinance. I would also, to touch base on a little bit of that, we did have this property for sale. And we had many people come out. The way that it was zoned prior to us changing the comp plan, that wanted to build apartment complexes there under the 100 that fit into the existing PUD that we said no to. We could sell that property as is right now to anybody, and they could build apartments there, and it's already ready to go. They don't need to come to this body. They need to come to the city to get a building permit. Yeah. We are now vetting that process, counselors. We want to make sure that we continue to be good neighbors.
So then you guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but you guys are going to be doing the vetting.
We will come up with we have a very, very intense background check that we put employees through. Yeah. We will work with Beacon, we will work with our folks internally, and we will find out what the best background checks are for these folks. I mean, we are going to scrutinize these people. First and foremost, again, we are very regulated by the federal government, the state government. So the types of folks that are allowed to live in this housing could adversely affect our population of friends who are some of the most vulnerable when it comes to abuses. That's been documented for years. My uncle was a HISM kid. Mm-hmm. There was no higher form of abuse to our vulnerable, to our IDD population than what they went through. That's why this is so close to me. As he says, don't fall in love with your argument. I've been in love with this organization for the 47 years I've been alive. We are going to do our best to be the best neighbors that we can, as we have been for 40 years. I would contend that any opposition to this is affecting our ability to serve and adversely affects our property value, as we have owned it for very, very long time. We understand the concerns of the neighbors. That's why we started early with the neighborhood meeting, and here's what we want to do. I would tell you this. We all know the big players in every property management company in the local area. Google any of them across the country. You're going to find that list of. We spent a lot more than just a few hours Googling and looking at reviews. 11 months we've been with this organization talking through this. This staff has vetted everything. When we first had this conversation as president of the Board of Trustees, I want to make sure that we do a deep dive to make sure that these folks are legitimate. We wouldn't be up here with them if they weren't. And that's because of our regulation that we're under. We're scrutinized at every level. So if there's any other questions for us, I would ask that you verify all of the things, the concerns in opposition. You've got a staff here. We've addressed all the concerns. The traffic study by independent professionals clearly stated that College did not need to be widened. And I would contend with my somewhat knowledge that College is or is very close to becoming an arterial street as it is with the connection between county line. That being said, you know the timeline that we're under. We have access to some grants and some funding by an application that has to be made this week. We want to thank you again for scheduling this meeting. We want to thank you for putting on the agenda discussion and possible action, because it's imperative to us for funding for projects for Gatesway that we get an application in by the 9th. And so a vote this evening is imperative for us.
I was just going to bring up real quick, like the one bedroom, 900, that's, to me, it's not an affordable, right? That's not what you call affordable housing. So there's been some conflicts of on the opposition to this saying they don't want low income, but 900 a month isn't low income. I mean, but your friends aren't going to pay that, right? They probably have a special rate that they have to pay, or there's some state funding, I would assume.
So there are state
family
funding.
help pay.
Yes,
so there's a whole, like.
So there's a gamut of things there.
Yeah.
So we look at area medium income. Okay, so this housing will serve based on certain percentages of area median income. First of all, to me, it's crazy, because I agree that I don't think it's affordable, but you're not finding one bedrooms for
No.
less than that anybody would live in.
No.
Secondly, yes, housing is paid for through state, federal dollars, a gamut of things, depending on what the neurodiverse clients' needs are, what their situations are. So there's a breakdown, a table of scale of who can afford the housing, what this housing is generated for, based on a $70,000 a year income, a $40,000, a $32,000. So there's percentage breakdown. So look, I would contend that there's not a lot of affordable housing anywhere. This one-bedroom house will be more affordable than a one-bedroom at a brand-new case development somewhere down the road.
Well, and it's affordable, though, for your friends. It's
That
not
is correct.
necessarily, and the other ones would be clearly vetted
Absolutely.
rentals that are, is not low income, that will help fund your mission
That is
going
correct,
forward.
Mayor. And that's the intent of this. The days of just money falling out of the trees for people who are neurodiverse, they're gone. The state doesn't have money, the feds don't have money. Organizations like ours have to find unique ways to diversify their revenue streams so we can continue to provide the services that our friends discussed this evening. So again, as the board president, I'm available. I assure you, we have bent over backwards to address these concerns. We vetted them with City Manager Spurgeon's staff. We vetted them with our consultant. We vetted them internally. But I would ask if there's any question about the ordinance or what fits. Your city attorney is here. Your planning people are here. I assure you, I don't think we brought anything to you that's in contradiction to that. And I will let.
Sorry, I just want to add something real quick. We did Christina Watkins, I work for Gatesway. We did some research recently. Actually, one of our engineers did some research on the rent rates, and they will be lower than what we originally intended because of the median income. So we're looking at anywhere from a $12 an hour pay rate to $30 an hour is kind of the affordability scale of what we're looking at. So $600-700 a month for the apartment is kind of where we've landed at roughly. So it's dropped quite a bit from what it was originally.
In our workforce that serves our clients, we really need options for them.
Yeah.
We have an industry that, one, is short on funds, and so we have high overhead for not great jobs, and so there's a lot of overtime. So those fluctuate, those affect our bottom dollar and our costs. And so if we can turn around and offer affordable housing for our employees as well, who have already been vetted and would be vetted again if they signed a lease for us. So we're talking about serving a population, not just our friends, but the folks that serve our friends and the neighbors that have been serving our friends for decades.
I have a question. Can you give me an idea of the percentage of the 180 units that would be occupied by your friends and support staff versus others?
So there's no set percentage. I would love for it to be 100% eventually. However, a couple things. I will refute something that was said earlier. This apartment complex will not take months to fill up. There are waiting lists at every affordable housing for workforce in Green Country, and I know that because we do studies on it. However, I mean, we want our friends' place, we want workforce there, but there's a gap to fill, not everybody. But the list of people that don't qualify for the services that Gatesway provide to live on campus, but could qualify for this housing and the resource that we provide for job coaching, that list is thousands across the state. Now, the problem is getting them into the system correctly, getting the funding for them, and getting connected. I would love for our entire community to be consisting of that in our workforce. And that would be, that's the goal. But there's no set percentage right now. We would like to see a minimum, but there's the economics of the deal that we have to work out too.
So some of my thinking on that is just if you have your friends and your support staff that are living there, they're not going to be commuting.
That's correct.
Somewhere.
Yeah. I'm sure some will support staff will still own vehicles, but you're not doing the daily drive to work. Right. That is correct, sir. Okay. And the majority I would say very little of our friends drive. But I'll tell you this, a lot of our friends are very engaged in this community, and we're very proud of this community. Mm-hmm. And, they loved the idea of, hey, would you all want to go speak? They're registered voters here, too. They're constituents. They love being here because Gatesway has been able to provide a service for them. And we look forward to a future where we can continue to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Happy New
you.
Year.
If I may,
Yep.
a couple things, I jotted down some things, and there's been a lot of good conversation on both sides, and I want to ask Rocky or Amanda to address some things here momentarily. But one thing I want to address was, there was a comment about this thing flying under the radar, and almost a lack of transparency, but every meeting, I believe, planning center meetings and the meetings where it was approved are public meetings, and they are posted. So there was no under the radar, under the table, anything, and all our meetings were open for anyone to attend who would like to attend, whether you're for it or against it. So there was no flying under the radar at a public meeting, because that's not how we operate here in the city of Broken Arrow. And I heard the comments about the complaints, and I'm going to venture out here and say, just no matter what company you are, because I've worked in both public and private sector, there's going to be those who complain, and an apartment complex in LA or in Tennessee is going to be different than an apartment complex in Broken Arrow. It's a different community, it's a different dynamic. I mean, I haven't made my mind up. I know we're still having this conversation, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. But I want you guys to address the comments about the land use intensity and this definition of residential multifamily, because I hadn't heard that one. Is that part of our?
Well, I believe what they're referencing in the comp plan is that it should align with an arterial street or abut an arterial street. However, there is nothing in our multifamily design build standards that references apartments needing to be adjacent to arterial streets.
Okay, I didn't think so. I think there was a comment about a definition of what a multifamily is. Was that definition from our standards, or was that just a general definition from Merriam-Webster or somewhere?
I'd have to hear it again, but I'm guessing it was just a general definition.
Thank you.
There are in the zoning ordinance several references to if multifamily is developed along an arterial street, there are additional standards that are required in that situation. So additional landscaping, additional masonry, all those types of things. But there is no specific section in the zoning ordinance that states that a multifamily must be accessed through an arterial.
So it sounds like it doesn't have to be, but if it is, then they have to follow these rules.
That's correct.
And I'm assuming those were all addressed at Planning Center, and those criteria are being met through this.
Absolutely.
Plan. Okay.
I don't have my comp plan with me, but this is all industrial area, and it's always been looked at as an industrial area. What was happening is that part of it was a level 3 already, so the apartments could go in there, and the rest of it was a industrial area, level 6. That's what we changed. The rest of that, all of that corner there up to county line is a industrial in the PUD.
On the south side?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, from that subject tract going to the east.
To the east, down to the South 81st Street.
Yep.
That's all industrial area in there. And it's always been. So I don't look for there to be any more apartments in that area.
We voted down one, right? That came before us? That was close to?
On the north side.
There was one withdrawn.
There was one, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So the industrial area is very valuable to the city of Broken Arrow, and I couldn't foresee that, you know what I mean, happening. Maybe as you get close to the intersection, our comp plan might say maybe a corner of commercial, maybe with a little bit of buffer behind, but this is a transition area. So these apartments are transition. That's a buffer between a residential area and the industrial area.
That's correct.
So industrial is going to bring more traffic.
It's exactly right. Industrial will bring more traffic, and
Heavy trucks.
I would. That's right, Mayor, and that was why I drove it just as I was coming over here one more time down 14th Street, and industrial is going to bring heavier trucks on that, so it's going to be more that we need to work with it more as that for the industrial area rather than for the few cars that's going to be in there.
And I see Charlie Bright in the back of the room, and we've talked regarding traffic studies and the capacity of 2-lane roads, 3-lane roads, et cetera. And I know from a layman's perspective, it may seem like a road can only hold X amount, but from a traffic study and engineering perspective, those things can be different.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. So, Charlie Bright, I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction for the city. I haven't had a chance to review their traffic impact assessment, but I'll say that the city, through data that we've presented to you guys in the past, has pulled the data for this road. Traffic counts on this road today are extremely low compared to what you would expect. Actual data on College Street between Lynn Lane and County Line today is under 1,000 vehicles per day. As you get closer to County Line, it's actually under 200 vehicles per day. A standard 2-lane road of this size, in theory, can have a capacity of up to 13,000 vehicles a day. So that just shows you how dramatic of a difference it is. Your biggest issue when you talk about traffic like this is like peak times of when they're going to leave. They all leave, come in at the same time. So the biggest consideration in my mind would just be potential any turn lanes as you get to Lynn Lane or County Line. You're not going to have a capacity issue on the roadway itself. You may just have turning issues as you get to the arterials on either end. But I think the traffic impact analysis probably discussed that a little bit more, and I have not had a chance to review that.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you. No, ma'am. You only have the 3 minutes to address the council.
I didn't use all my 3 minutes. I just want to say that
But
I don't know how
we can't, I'm sorry, we can't do that.
Let's be closed for over a year.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Do all your questions answered?
Yeah. Okay. We have the ability to take action on this item.
I'd make a motion that we approve the request BAZ 001788-2024 and the PUD 001787-2024 as per staff and Planning Commission's recommendation.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. And with this motion passing, we hope that the residents, and we hear your concerns, but just know that we're going to be looking, and you can shake your head, ma'am, I know, but we're going to be working with our staff to make sure that things are addressed. What I feel is a win tonight is that a very niche part of our constituents, which we represent, get to have housing now. And that is one thing that we have been trying to address for a very long time. Workforce housing is, as Mr. Ferry pointed out, is across the state, across the nation, is something that we need. So,
you know, we often hear, and we heard here tonight that, you know, we enjoy the Rose District and we enjoy shopping, we enjoy this, but someone has to work at those places. Mm-hmm. Someone has to work the register. Someone has to bring your food to the table. Someone has to, you know, do those things. And those folks who are in those jobs aren't going to be able to afford the $1,500 a month rent or the mortgage necessarily. And it's not just here. I mean, you know, we serve on Oklahoma Municipal League, National League of Cities, and it's the not in my backyard. You know, those folks need a place, but just not in my backyard. And it's unfortunate. We don't have an area of the city. This is just going to be workforce on the east side of the city or the south side of the city. You know, everyone's entitled to a place to live, a quality, affordable place to live, whatever your job is and wherever your station in life is, in my opinion.
all right. Any remarks from governing body members? Beyond that, I mean.
Me.
City manager? Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
you can do that.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Thank you all very much for